The case of the missing necklace. Detective Mia was having a quiet day at her office when the phone rang. It was Mrs. Brown, an old family friend, in a panic. She had hosted a small tea party that morning, and after the guests left, she noticed her precious diamond necklace was missing. Mrs. Brown couldn't believe one of her friends would steal from her. Feeling desperate, she called Mia for help. When Mia arrived, she calmly asked Mrs. Brown to retrace her steps. They went over every detail of the party, from who attended to what was served. Mia observed the room carefully. Everything seemed in place except for one thing: the cat. Mrs. Brown's mischievous pet, Whiskers, was unusually active, swatting something under the table. Mia crouched down and discovered the necklace tangled in the cat's toy mouse. It had simply fallen off Mrs. Brown's dresser and been knocked around by the playful feline. Mrs. Brown was embarrassed but relieved. "I thought for sure one of my friends had taken it," she said. Mia smiled and replied, "It's easy to jump to conclusions when we're upset, but the truth is often simpler than we think." Mrs. Brown thanked Mia and, as a token of gratitude, insisted on baking her a pie. As Mia left, she reflected on how often in her line of work the real culprit wasn't who or what people expected. Sometimes the clues were right in front of you if you just took a moment to observe.
The last signal. In the year 2157, Earth was a memory. Humanity had fled its dying planet a century ago, scattering across the stars in search of new homes. Among the many ships that left Earth, the Nova Ark was one of the last. It carried 1,000 passengers, each in cryosleep, destined for a distant planet known only as Terra 2. Captain Elena Vargas was the only one awake on the ship, her task to oversee the journey and ensure the safety of the crew. She had trained for this mission her entire life, prepared to spend the 50 years alone while her crew slept. The ship's AI, Iris, was her only companion. Years passed in the vast emptiness of space. Elena's routine was precise monitoring systems, making small course adjustments, and engaging in conversations with Iris to keep her mind sharp. Everything was on track until one day, something unexpected happened. A faint signal appeared on the ship's radar. It was old, almost too weak to detect, but unmistakably artificial. Elena's heart raced. Could it be from another ship, or perhaps from Earth? She immediately began analyzing the signal, trying to decipher its origin. Iris confirmed that the signal was coming from a nearby star system, one that was not on their charted course. It was a risk to divert the ship, but Elena's curiosity and a sense of duty drove her to investigate. What if someone needed help? What if it was a remnant of the lost Earth? As the Nova Ark approached the star system, the signal grew stronger. It was a repeating pattern, a distress call from a long-forgotten era. When they finally reached the source, Elena was astonished. It was an old Earth satellite, a relic from the early days of space exploration, still broadcasting its last message. The satellite was battered and corroded, its solar panels long dead, but the signal continued. Elena instructed Iris to capture the data. The message was simple: "To those who find this, we were here. We searched the stars, hoping for a future." Elena felt a deep connection to those words. They were a reminder of humanity's resilience, of the countless souls who had ventured into the unknown, searching for a new beginning. She knew she had to preserve this piece of history. Before leaving, Elena attached a small data beacon to the satellite, ensuring that its message would continue to broadcast for centuries to come. It was her way of honoring the past while moving forward. As the Nova Ark resumed its course to Teratu, Elena looked out into vastness of space, filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They were the continuation of a journey that had begun long before her time, a journey that would carry on as long as there were stars to reach.
The unexpected reunion. It had been 20 years since Mark had left his hometown, determined to escape the shadows of his past. Life in the city had given him everything he thought he wanted: success, money, and a sense of anonymity. Yet, it was the unexpected death of his estranged mother that brought him back, a place he had vowed never to return. As Mark walked through the small, dusty town, memories flooded back. The narrow streets, once his entire world, seemed smaller now, worn by time. He reached the old house, the paint peeling, the garden overgrown. It was exactly as he had left it, yet it felt like a stranger's home. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of memories long buried. Sorting through his mother's belongings, he found a box labeled Mark's letters. Curiosity tugged at him, and he opened it, finding letters he had never seen, letters addressed to him, but never sent. They were from his father, a man who had left when Mark was just a boy. His hands trembled as he read the first one. His father had written about regret, about wanting to reconnect but not knowing how. Each letter was filled with apologies, stories of his own struggles, and a deep longing to make things right. The last letter, dated just a year before his father's death, was a plea for forgiveness. Mark sat in the quiet of the old house, the weight of the years pressing down on him. The anger he had harbored for so long began to dissolve, replaced by a deep sadness. The father he had hated was a man who had been lost, just as he had been. As the sun set, Mark knew he had a choice. He could leave the past behind, as he always had, or he could finally face it, forgive it, and find peace. For the first time in years, he felt the stirrings of something new, a sense of closure, and perhaps, the beginning of healing. Life lesson. Sometimes, the past holds the key to our healing. Facing old wounds and seeking forgiveness, even when it's difficult, can bring closure and peace. It's never too late to make amends or to understand those we've lost. Vocabulary focus. Estranged. When you are no longer close or on good terms with someone you were once close to. Regret. Feeling sad or sorry about something you did or didn't do. Forgiveness. Letting go of anger or resentment towards someone who has wronged you.